I have to admit, I love the Joseph story. Not only because his intriguing and complex story unfolds over 14 chapters of Torah, the most of any person in Sefer Bereshit in Genesis. Not only because Blair and I forced the kids to listen to the soundtrack of Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat in the car all the time. Yosef is my father's Hebrew name. If we are all Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel, the children of Jacob, I am literally the child of Yosef as well. And as a child of Joseph, I admire most Joseph's ability to dream. Joseph's father, Jacob, had the Jacob's ladder dream and felt frightened, shocked. Jacob seemed uncomfortable with his experience of seeing the world differently than it appeared. Joseph embraces his ability to dream of a world of possibility. Dreaming is a scary endeavor. Seeing the world differently is off-putting to people who feel comfortable in the world as it is. That's why Joseph is at the same time engaging and upsetting to all of the people around him in the Torah. I have a difficult time reading these chapters of Torah and not thinking back to the greatest dream film of all time, The Wizard of Oz. I hope I'm not spoiling the ending of the movie for people who are here today. But in it, Dorothy has an amazing dream where she and her dog Toto visit a place called Oz. And as opposed to her quote-unquote real world of black and white, Oz is full of color, technicolor as a matter of fact. And there she's forced to journey along the yellow brick road. Along the way, she meets engaging and off-putting characters. She meets a scarecrow who's looking for a brain, a tin man who's looking for a heart, and a lion who's searching for courage. I'm not sure if you've ever attended a film criticism course, but you're about to experience a taste of one because I believe that Dorothy meets these characters in her dream because she is in fact herself searching for wisdom, compassion, and courage to know how to make the right decisions in her own world of black and white. These are the traits that she lacks, and she finds them along her journey. And she uses wisdom, compassion, and courage to beat the witch and reach the great and powerful wizard, or as he refers to himself, the man behind the curtain. In Kabbalah, Jewish mysticism, we believe that each one of us aspire to reach the attributes of chokhmah, of wisdom, of bina, of compassion, and of da'at, of the ability to know the right decision in order to reach God, or as sometimes I refer to God, the oneness behind the curtain. In my opinion, Joseph travels his own yellow brick road, which is probably more sand than yellow. And along the way, he meets a seductive vixen, a jailed cupbearer, and a jailed baker. Unlike Dorothy, Joseph doesn't encounter characters that possess the attributes that he needs. Joseph encounters characters that challenge him, that force him to learn and utilize the same divine attributes he already possesses, but doesn't actually use yet. For the cupbearer, Joseph must use his wisdom to decipher his dream. For the baker, he must use his compassion in explaining the baker's pending doom. We know that Joseph is handsome, so the vixen teaches Joseph not to give in to his urges, to make wise decisions in his life. Joseph says it to the baker and cupbearer in this parsha. Vayomer alehem Yosef, halo Elohim pitronim. Joseph says to them, surely toward godliness is the answer. We are all walking on the yellow brick road of life, and we are supposed to be moving toward godliness, toward goodliness in the way that we move through the world. And our dreams help us. They help us imagine a world, to envision a world of possibility instead of our reality. We're confined by what we see. That's why many of the commandments in the Torah all revolve around the idea of Shema, listen. Not Re'eh, look, but Shema, listen. Hearing the stories of the Torah, hearing its law, its wisdom, allows us to paint in our minds a world far more colorful than we could ever see with our own eyes. The Torah invites us to take part in the tradition, teach our children and family and friends how to dream as well. Think of our greatest collective accomplishment in the 20th century, the rebirth of the State of Israel. One of the founders of modern Zionism, Theodor Herzl, famously said, Im tirtzu ein zo agada. If you will it, then it is no dream. It's true that we're a religion of mitzvot, of action. But we have to first begin with aspiration, with a dream, to know where we're going. Judaism demands that we wake up tomorrow to provide light and possibility to a world filled with darkness, that we live our life constantly striving toward achieving greater wisdom, greater compassion, and greater ability to know how to make good decisions. Because there is no hot air balloon waiting for us in the end to carry us away. Like Dorothy and Joseph, in the end of each of their journeys, we are forced to look back at our loved ones. Dorothy wakes up from her dream to face her family and her neighbors, and she has a tremendous revelation, and she says the powerful words, "You were there," meaning to say that we're all so self-absorbed in our personal journey, it's difficult to give of ourselves. But if we're moving toward goodliness, then we'll know it because we'll lift the lives and spirits of those around us as well. In the end, the test for Joseph is to once again face his family. And his brothers are terrified of retribution for selling him into slavery. They're afraid of Joseph pointing at them and saying to them, "You were there." But by the end of Genesis, Joseph has matured, and his wisdom and compassion and decision-making lead him to forgiveness instead. God doesn't hide from us. We can't see God if we're only looking in the world around us. We need to use our dreams and our imagination. I hear God every time Blair says to me, "I love you." I see God when I watch my daughters light the Shabbos candles with my mother. I see God when my son plays catch with my father. God is present when we gather together for a simcha like the bat mitzvah last week. And God is also there when we gather as a community to comfort one another. I sense a movement toward greater connection, toward strengthened relationships, toward more complete oneness. We can spend our entire lives trying to reach a wizard, trying to understand what happens behind the curtain. Or we can spend the days of our lives trying to understand one another better. And in doing that, in recognizing that, the Torah points us back to friends and family and our communities. I promise you, we'll find God together, not alone, and will increase God's oneness in the world. Shabbat Shalom.